the fifth standard?
The fifth standard took 20 years to get done. When I started working with oils, I had to make a choice. Do I work with seed omega-3s or with fish omega-3s? And the reason why I chose to go with seeds is we can get them organic, so we don't end up with the pesticides and the PCBs and dioxins and the industrial chemicals in them, at least mostly, because nothing is completely clean anymore, right?
Sure.
And we could make them, I developed methods for making oils with health in mind, so we could make them without damage. But with the fish oils, they are 25 times more sensitive than the seed omega-6s. Those are about 1% damaged by the processing. It is not unusual to get fish oil that is 3 to 5% damaged molecules. And if you concentrate the fish oil, then the percent of damaged molecules goes up. So I wasn't happy with 1%. Why would I be happy with more than that? So I decided not to use them, and my view was always, right from the beginning, if I ever find a fish oil that is not damaged by processing and does not contain industrial toxins, I will recommend it because EPA and DHA are very useful for health. On the other hand, if I can't get them, then the body can convert the seed omega-3s to fish omega-3s. And although in advertising you always hear the body can't convert, the proof is that there are 300 million Hindus that have never eaten fish and never taken fish oil, and their culture goes back 5,000 years or longer, and they seem to be able to function just as well in their brain, in their vision, and their sperm formation as we do. And if they didn't get enough DHA by conversion, they'd actually be dumb, blind, and sterile. But they're doing well in all three departments. Also, Walter Willett, the head of the Harvard School of Public Health, was asked if your body couldn't convert alpha-linolenic acid, the C omega-3, to DHA and EPA and DHA, what would happen? And without any hesitation, he said, you'd be dead. It is so important that that takes place, that everybody was outfitted by life to be able to make that conversion. We all have the genes that do that. We all can do that conversion.
Are there any standards in the fish oil industry that actually checks the fish for toxicity?
No, until recently. What happened was in Ireland, the government did studies on fish oils, and they took all the major fish oils on the market. They found out that some of them were up to almost 1,300 parts per billion of PCBs and dioxins.
Wow.
It's huge. And they then said this is too much because PCBs and dioxins are very toxic. And so the standards were set. Standards were then set by the government. They took it all the way down to 0.2 parts per billion, the allowed level in the European Union. In North America, we're okay with 90 parts per billion. So that's 450 times more PCBs and dioxins are allowed in North America than are allowed in the European Union. So they have set standards, but here's the problem. You lower the PCBs. You know, you get an oil that has PCBs in it. All fish do, because they're in the ocean. You can't isolate a piece of ocean.
Sure. And
in the high-fat fish, you end up with PCBs and dioxins. So now you got to get them out. You need to set a better standard to get them out. How do you do that? More processing. What happens when you do more processing? Well, they're 25 times more sensitive than the seed oils, so you're going to get more processing damage. So we have them down to 90 parts per billion on PCBs and dioxins, but 3% damage is 30 million parts per billion, which is more than 300,000 times more processing damaged molecules than industrial chemicals, PCBs and dioxins. And nobody talks about it. Nobody in the fish oil and nobody in the seed oil industry talks about the damage done by processing. And now the focus is on PCBs and dioxins, and it's kind of like the red herring to keep us from, it's almost like keeping us. I mean, I don't think anybody's keeping us from. But because we're focused on that, we think that's the issue. A lot of things go under the table that just because the focus isn't put on.
Sure.
So I never worked with fish oils because that was known 20 years ago. And so I've been looking for a clean source. I have never found a fish oil that I'm comfortable is clean. because molecular distillation is a high heat process. Damage is done to the molecules. They're treated a lot like the seed oils. There's some variation. And eventually I found a source of undamaged long-chain omega-3s, DHA, EPA, DPA. And it's the organism that makes the long chains for the entire food chain, which is red-brown algae. They're one-celled algae. You feed them sugar and they turn it into DHA and EPA and DPA. That's cool, huh?
Brilliant.
You could eat sugar and get really smart. We can't do it, they can. And they're grown in tanks, so it's a completely controlled environment, so no PCBs and dioxins. And we can get them unrefined, so no processing damage. So that was number 5. And then the 6th standard was, it's become an argument in the market between should we do fish oils or should we do seed oil omega-3s.
Okay.
And that's a completely stupid argument, because if you took 3 capsules of fish oil, and even if they were the best possible fish oil, completely clean, no damage, it would kill you if that was the only source of oil in your diet, because it's only 3 capsules, it's only 3 grams. That's a 1.5% of calories in a 2,000 calorie diet. And the low end of sufficient is 15%. So you'd have to take 30 capsules of fish oil to get your low end of sufficient oil. So there are really 2 issues here. One is you need to build the foundation. That has always come from seeds and nuts and vegetables and seed oils. And I recommend a tablespoon per 50 pounds of body weight per day, which is about the same amount as what people normally use of the damaged seed oils. Only I say to them, your body needs an oil change just like your car. So you want to dump the dirty oils and you want to replace them with clean oils in your diet. Okay? So you build that foundation. If you do it right and you got omega-3 and 6 and they're all made with health in mind, the balance is right and they're not damaged, then within a month you'll feel an improvement in your skin. You'll get soft, smooth, velvety skin. If you get it optimum amount, 20% go to the skin. And if you don't get enough, then the inner organs get priorities on it. So this is a good way to measure what is your optimum. Once you build that foundation, then you can play with the therapeutic oils, like the fish oils, and see if that gets you further benefit. In my experience, 5 to 10% of the population does better when they take therapeutic oils on top of the foundation, but not instead of. And the other people don't. The fish oil industry says 25% of the population can't convert. That means they're saying by omission 75% of the population doesn't need it, right?
Yes.
So, and then what the 6th standard is put it all together. We call it the DHA Oil Blend. It's actually the foundation oil with the red-brown algae oil added, all to the high standard, all vegetarian. So that you get both the foundation and the therapeutic. And with that, we've left the fish oil behind, the fish oil industry behind, because they're not going to do that. Not to the standards, at least.
And I think a great thing for the environment is there's all this concern about, that there might not be any fish in 50 years if we keep on farming them the way we are, just right now.
Yep.
So what you've done is you've put together a great DHA system where we don't have to worry about that because we don't need to farm them for their oil.
Right, it's true. I travel a lot. I was in Iceland before Christmas. Their cod fishery is completely dead. And they get 70% of their income comes from fisheries. Completely gone. In Canada, on the East Coast, we had to do a moratorium on cod for 2 or 3 years to try and bring the stocks back. And with the pressure that is on fish oils these days about EPA and DHA and therapeutic and omega-3s improve most degenerative conditions, they're not going to stop doing that until all the fish are gone. Because there isn't, because there's such a drive for money. And as you know, when you don't put life before money, then you will sacrifice life for money. And that's true for us, but it's also true for the animals, and it's true for the ecosystem and all of that. So that is also a big concern.